Oi pessoal, bom dia! Como estão todos vocês aí nesse domingo maravilhoso? Good morning everyone! I am here at Morning Coffee for the Soul. I started by speaking Portuguese, it was just a mind thing, so let's go back to the English. Anyway, how's everyone doing on this beautiful Sunday? We are here to talk about Ben Franklin's virtues. We have been doing this for a few weeks, and today is week 8. Look how fast time flies, right? So Ben Franklin had devised 13 virtues that he tried to go by. And at the end of the day, he would really kind of check himself as to how he did on each of those virtues. And today we're going to talk about the virtue of justice. That was a virtue that he really worked and that he really liked to study, because all the philosophers, one of the things that the philosophers always discuss is the sense of what is right, what is wrong, what is really justice. Is what you do just? Is what the other person does just? What is justice? And are we really progressing in the sense of justice? So Ben Franklin, he said that you should never do any wrong by causing anybody injuries. And really that your freedom, your liberty, it should end the minute that you transgress somebody else's, you trespass somebody else's liberty and freedom. So that is when you know what your limit is. We all know that we have free will, but at the same time, the minute that my free will takes the right of somebody else, oh, everyone's saying hello. Hi, Nora. Good morning to you. Good morning, Chris. We have people coming in. Good morning. Good evening. Alicia as well. So let's think about this. When we think of justice, are we thinking of what we believe to be the truth? And when the truth doesn't really hit what we believe, then we call it unjust. I like to think that whatever situation it is, when we say, is what about to be done just, is it good for everybody or is it just good for me? It's usually kind of a measurement of what justice is all about. When it's good for everyone, when everyone gets some kind of benefit from whatever the action needs to be done, it's usually, we can kind of like have that as a leverage for the measurement of what justice should be. When everybody, I like to think of even in business, when you're a business person, and you really respect everybody's rights, right? And we're going to talk about the Spirits book and as far as what the Spirits talk about justice. But the minute that you're doing some kind of a bargaining, you're doing some kind of a business transaction, and you feel good because you sold your goods for a profit, the person paid a fair amount for the product because they didn't have to go and acquire and do all kinds of deals and travel to acquire the product, and they feel good that they acquired the product at a good price, then it was a just transaction. You had your work, you used your knowledge, your schooling, whatever it is to get what you have, and then the other person got it at a fair price that, you know, there was no price gouging. You didn't wait until the person was so needy for that product that you just heightened the price of your product. That would not be just. That would be a selfish thing to do. And we have laws against that. Now we can think about this whole thing about why do we even need laws for justice? Because of what we have called as selfishness. If we weren't selfish, we would not have to think about even establishing laws to protect justice, you know, to be just. Because once you take that selfishness, good morning, Marcella, good morning, Monica, everyone's saying good morning, I love it. I love the little emojis as well. But the minute that you take the selfishness out of you, then you begin to truly appreciate what justice is all about, because it's not about your ego. It's not about what you want, what is good for you. It becomes about what is really someone's fair share, you know, and it's not about what you should be getting out of it. Even on the Spirits book, Allan Kardec asked the spirits about on question 875. He really asked about how do they see justice? How do the spirits really talk about justice? What is this all about? And to sum it up, the spirits will answer that it's really the basic respect of each other's rights. So we all have rights. We living in the United States, we all have rights. We have as human beings, but not just in the United States. When we talk about ethics, it's a fundamental right to all people at all times. And it never has changed and it never will. Those we're talking about the ethical laws, the moral laws of God. And those laws should apply to all people. So the sense of justice that we have are still very relative to our society of what is fair and what is not fair. And it changes quite a bit. But once we start to really study, especially studying the Spirit's book, and we go into the whole questions about morality and what is right and what is wrong and does evil exist and all of this, we're going to learn that the very core of injustice is selfishness. And that is why selfishness and pride are the two biggest challenges in this in humanity. Once we work our own pride, because we have to be right, because we're better, because our thoughts are better than the other person's thoughts. And once we work our own sense of pride, not the type of pride that, oh, I'm so happy that I have an accomplishment. That is really an admiration for an accomplishment. So that is a good thing. But once we work our pride as to my way is better than yours, I should get the bigger part of the cake, the bigger piece of the cake. That is when, because I am this person, because I have this title, because then again, pride, it goes completely against any kind of judgment, of just judgment. And then obviously selfish. If you are a selfish person, it is impossible to be a just person, because you're egocentric. It's all about your needs. It's all about what you think is right. And unfortunately, sometimes we have, even in the Spiritist movement, we have one person judging somebody else's Spiritist center and how they do things. And they establish, I would say, almost a dogma. They establish rules and regulations, even for lectures. Sometimes, some centers like to have a lecture that has a sense of humor. The other one likes to have a lecture that is this or that. And it's very dangerous when we decide who is a good Spiritist lecturer. As long as you adhere to the Spiritist doctrine, you're a good lecturer, right? If you're lecturing at a Spiritist center. So that is very dangerous when you start establishing laws and regulations and applying them and kind of really shoving it down other people's throats that your way, your rules, your regulations are the right ones. And they are the just ones. And then you start exercising exactly the opposite of what justice is all about, according to Allan Kardec, because it is the very core of respecting each other's rights. So I have the right, right? I have the right to interpret things the way that I am capable to do. So that is my right. It is my right to invite who I wish to my Spiritist center. And the minute that somebody judges you, and the minute that somebody establishes these limits and boundaries for somebody else, they are infringing on somebody else's rights to also have their way done, their way of living the way they wish to, without infringing on somebody else's. You see, that is the whole thing about justice. Is it good for you, or is it good for all? And the minute that it's all about you, my rules, my regulations, I decide. You see the pride and the selfishness that goes on there? And it doesn't matter if you mask it in any way. You can mask it as you could be whatever religious person, do-gooder type of person. You're just masking it because it doesn't matter. I like, oh my goodness, I forgot his name, and it's terrible to forget his name. But he says that great things said by renowned people silly things said by renowned people and scientists are still silly. So nonsense, doesn't matter who says it, it's still nonsense. It doesn't matter who you are. So you could be the biggest, I don't know, the biggest speaker in the world. If you say something that is unjust, doesn't matter, it's still unjust, even if you are all of that. So the Spirit says, again, the sense of justice has everything to do with respecting everyone's rights. And where does my limit end? It ends when I infringe somebody else's right. You see, in our Constitution, we have the right to pursue happiness. Everybody has that right. So if what makes you happy is singing in the rain, your friend has no right to infringe your pursuit of happiness, that is walking around singing in the rain. Now, the minute that your singing is so loud as to bother someone who wishes to read a book in silence, then you see how things kind of domino if you don't just respect everybody's rights without infringing and making it about you, making it about your rules and regulations, and really opening it up and saying, wait a minute, how many rules and regulations in this world had been wrong before? Hey, slavery at some point was a rule of law. And today, we don't have to put in Spiritist centers or in churches that it's prohibited to smoke inside. You see how things, at one point you had to put a sign, right? Do not smoke. Now everybody kind of knows that, no, it's not right to smoke. We still have to do that with cell phones. But you see, that is a justice, because the minute that you smoke and your cigarette smoke will afflict my lungs, then you are invading my right to pursuit of happiness, to be living a healthy life. And that is what we have to think about. Now, another thing of justice, because Ben Franklin would really say that when you deny someone their punishment or reward, you are being unjust. So justice is about, really what he's saying is the law of cause and effect. Ben Franklin is such a person that I admire, because far from being a person who would call himself the righteousness or anything like that, or wanting everybody to follow him, he really did this self-analysis all the time. So I really like how his ideas, actually the more you study his biography and all of that, you will see how close it is with what we learn in Spiritism. So when he says that when you deny someone their punishment or their reward, you are infringing in their progress, and then you are being unjust. So you must allow the law of cause and effect to take place. Now that comes back to really reality here, you know, as far as people asking, well, okay, so you're talking about justice. So what about all this injustice, all of this pain and suffering that goes on around the world? Now again, we go back and we have to think and study what we study, which is Spiritism, and all of the books that Kardec brought to us. He compiled all of these, because then we'll, without a shadow of a doubt, we'll understand that everything that happens has, and it is just in the eyes of a much bigger plan. Because if we have to look at anything that happens and we say, well, this is not just, God can't be just, then we're denying the very core that God is not God, because God is only God if he is good and just. You can't have God being good but not just, because he will allow wrong things to happen, but you can't have God also being not just and good, because it's impossible to not be just but then good as well. So we will understand all that God is, and the fundamental teaching that we need to understand that he is just and he is good. And henceforth, anything that happens with some type of, not punishment and reward, but a consequence of something that we ourselves have caused. God does not inflict pain. He doesn't just wake up and then he's not in a good mood and he's going to cause some kind of tsunami or whatever it is in the world. there is, and we know even about the butterfly effect, right? What do they say, the butterfly effect? That a butterfly just flipping its wings in Central Park in New York will have an effect at some point of causing a tsunami in Tokyo. So that is what, they call the butterfly effect. I hope I'm right. I don't have any notes, so what I say is things that I try to remember that I learned. But it makes sense. So we know that every single thing has a cause. And every single thing, now the goodness of God is that he allows whatever the consequences of the cause that we created to have some kind of learning from us. And I like to give an example of this, because on the books, the book Angels and Demons, I don't know if any one of you has watched the movie, the whole Da Vinci Code and all of that, but I like this one little story on this one priest. This one person goes up to this authority, and he says, the young priest goes to a higher priest, and he says, listen, I wanted to know, I understand, and I've been studying and all of that. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back. This person goes to the priest, and he goes, listen, I really can't grasp the concept of all this pain and suffering that happens in the world in the sense of justice. I really can't see that. I don't know why bad things happen. If God is all good and just, why does he allow pain and suffering? So the priest says, listen, do you have a child? And he says, yes, I do have a boy. And he says, does your boy skate? And he was surprised because the priest was kind of, cool about knowing about skating and all of that. So he says, yes, my boy has a skate and I allow him to skate. And he says, so when you allow your boy to skate, do you allow him to just go by himself, or do you hold on to him and make sure the skate goes to the right path? And he says, no, I kind of teach him how to skate and I allow him to go. And then the priest says, and if he goes and he falls down the skate and he gets hurt and his knee gets all scraped, do you tell him, do you stop him? Do you not allow him to skate anymore? And then he says, no, because by learning how to skate, these things are going to happen. He's going to have pain, he's going to have suffering, but he's going to learn from that. So he just smiled. The priest smiled at him and he understood exactly. And that is how God is just. He allows you to go through this process of learning, of growing, to have your own merit. You see, justice is about having your own merit and not just taking the merit of somebody else. That is a sense of justice as well. So God allows us to first of all, he gives us all the same beginning. And that is the beautiful thing. For those who don't yet believe in reincarnation, it must be very hard to really kind of grasp the concept of justice if people are born from different starting lines. It's kind of like if you're going to have a run, if you're going to run and if you're going to compete in a running competition, but you have different lines of where you're going to begin. See, that wouldn't be any, there would be no justice in that, because it would be obvious that the person that is 500 meters from the finish line, and if he has top physical abilities, will reach that very much faster and happier and will get the prize. But the one that is kilometers away and has some kind of a physical disability, how would that be fair for that person to begin in that line? So with Spiritism, we learn that we all begin as simple and ignorant spirits. We all begin in the same exact starting line. And once they go, we have free will. And that is justice, because God doesn't infringe on our rights. Look how beautiful that is. He gives us rights of the pursuit of happiness, of growing. See, that's the beauty and the knowledge that we have this divinity inside of us, that we have God with us the whole time, yet he is so amazing, he is so good that he allows us all to have our own free will, to make our own choices. He has established laws, and he has established laws for our own good. He has established laws ethical laws, laws that will bring happiness, laws of especially limitations. God doesn't punish us with a bellyache if we eat too much. That is not a punishment. That is a self-punishment, I guess I can say, that we infringe upon ourselves for going beyond a physical limit in our stomach. So that we will learn not to eat above our capacity, so we don't get ill afterwards, because our body needs to be in harmony. You see, that's the whole thing for life. Anything that we exceed will have a consequence for that. Anything that is outside of God's law, and we walk the path away from it, it's not that he's punishing, it's that we punish ourselves. And then we have to kind of redo it to get it right, to be happy, to really understand. And he allows this to happen as long as it needs to happen. So this concept of reincarnation is the perfect position on justice. Because we all begin simple and ignorant spirits. We all have the same starting line. And then we have free will that are given to us. And throughout evolution, we make our choices. And then we have to learn from our choices, so we don't repeat the bad choices we make. So it's a process of learning. And who doesn't want to learn? Even those who say they don't and they'd rather not get the consequence, they will never fully understand. And the end is really love. We are all going, and we're all destined to have perfect health, to have perfect harmony. Because again, we're all created with this light inside of us, and we all have, and people may say, well, where is the sense of justice then? Where is the sense of law? Where is God then? Well, the Spirit's book will also tell us in our conscience. So I want to end by really freezing that part. Where is the sense of justice? If we really consult our conscience, and we stop and we close our eyes and we put aside our pride and our selfishness and our self-centered ways, and we really examine, and then we think and we say, oh my goodness, what would be the fair and just scenario for this? And exactly, we would have God's words telling us exactly that. Because he didn't just create us and let us out there. He created us, but he still kept himself inside of us as a lead, as how do you call it? The word is going away from me. A compass. Really, he creates this, he is a compass inside of us, showing us the right way. But we have to look at the compass, and we have to know where we are. A compass, without you knowing, it's like a map. You can give me a map. If I don't know where I am on the map, then I'll never know where the directions are to get where I want to be. So once in a while, we have to examine ourselves to be in a place that we know where we are, to learn our lesson, so we can learn it and move on, and now kind of orient ourselves on the map and walk to where we want to be. And all we have to do is consult. Our map is right in our conscience. We have to stop, take the selfishness out of us, of what I want, what is good for me, how can I get the best out of this, and really say, how can everybody be happy in this situation? How can I be fair and just? So as long as you respect everybody's rights, you are complying with the law of justice. And Ben Franklin was very much like that. And just one more thing I like to say. How do we change the next generation then? Well, by really working with our children, by not making them kings and queens and princes and princesses, and telling that it's all about them and that it's their way. And if they have a toy, well, that's their toy. We start to really teach children. And it's very dangerous when parents put their children as, my child is the best, and my child is always right, and my child is always the bullied. And when we really have a clear eyes as to who our children are, and really start to enhance their qualities, but also admitting the qualities they don't yet have, or the ones that are not good, you know, that's kind of an oxymoron, but the bad, you know, things that they're developing, and really curb those inclinations. So we as parents, we have to stop even saying, oh, you are a princess, you are everything, you are the best, you are, if we say that you are amazing in what you do, that is better than saying you're the best out of all the little kids in your class. You see, you are the best in what you do. So to your ability, you are doing amazing. And when we start really redirecting even our words to children, we'll start instilling in them a sense of justice. You don't have to give your toy to the other child, but you should allow them to play a little bit with your toy. And the other child should understand that there is a time and it is not their toy. So the sense of justice is respecting each other's rights. And especially as parents, we have to do this. We have to take this mentality of making our children princes and princesses. Because you know what? They're going to grow and they're going to believe that. They're going to believe that they truly are the best, and the world really revolves around them. And it doesn't. And it should be almost the opposite, as if they are created in an environment as to, look, your children, your siblings or your friends are just as good. Sometimes they just need your help for something that you know best, or you know that little kid there, he knows a little more than you. Why don't you ask them for help? That will develop these children into children that will understand this true concept of justice, of respecting each other's rights. Well, everyone, I hope that we had a little, chit chat here about justice, and anything you wish to put. Oh, I have a comment here. Chris said there was a lecture in Maryland about divine justice. And the main point of Haroldo Dutra said that was that divine justice consists of time and reincarnation. Absolutely. And God is all about being good and just. And it's all about, we all have the starting line. It's all the same. So don't worry about it. We're all going to achieve the finishing line. It's just about how long will it take for each of us. And I guarantee we'll get there if we start respecting each other's rights a little more. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And I hope to see you next Sunday here with the next part, the 9th week of the 13 virtues that Ben Franklin thought about. Kisses to everyone. Have a wonderful day.